Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk about the new movie, Fly Me to the Moon. If you end up enjoying this video, please consider liking and subscribing. That way I don't have to fly to the moon to make sure that it's not made of cheese. The synopsis is as follows. Sparks fly between a marketing executive and a NASA official as he makes preparations for the Apollo 11 moon landing. So without further ado, let's get into the 6 things that make a movie great. 1. The plot. The plot of this movie follows Cole Davis, played by Channing Tatum, as he heads up the Apollo 11 project. But the project is not receiving enough funding. Cue the intro of Kelly Jones, a go-get-em marketing executive. She's approached by a mysterious man named Mo, who says he works for the president, and asks her to come work on this Apollo 11 project, marketing it so that they can get more money. Cole and Kelly end up hitting it off, although they're also quite annoyed with one another. And as time progresses, Mo starts asking Kelly to do more and more deceptive marketing. This causes all sorts of moral and relational issues, all while Apollo 11 is trying to make it to the moon. While I enjoyed where this movie ended up overall, I do think that it felt like this movie had a couple different plots going at once. One was Cole trying to get Apollo 11 off the ground and safely back from the moon. Another involves the marketing campaign from Kelly and the deceptive influence of Mo. And another was the whole relationship between Cole and Kelly. And although those plots were managed, the only negative effect it had is that it made this movie feel a bit longer. I really liked the inclusion of all the different dynamics this plot had and where it ended up by the end of the film, so I was entertained the whole time. So for me, plot gets a thumbs up. 2 is family friendliness. Fly Me to the Moon is rated PG-13. There's a mild bit of profanity, some sensuality, and a couple intense moments. But other than that, this movie is relatively tame. They do mention a male character's boyfriend, and that's literally all they said, so that's a non-factor for those worried about it. Besides one F-bomb and some flirting, this movie is pretty clean. So for me, family friendliness gets a thumbs up. 3 is acting and script. There are a lot of familiar faces here, and that was really fun to see. You have Scarlett Johansson, Channing Tatum, Woody Harrelson, Ray Romano, Jim Rash, and they all did an excellent job in this film. But within the script is where this movie was slightly flawed in my opinion. While this movie is very charming and likable, I felt like due to the script, the emotional tone of this movie was kind of volatile. For the most part, the tone of this movie was heartwarming and romantic and had very humorous moments, but then right when you were settling into that emotional tone, there would be this really immature, absurd, trying to be funny moment that wasn't funny. And that was disappointing, because this movie is really funny. Also, for the first 20 minutes of this movie, there is this attitude of having to fight the patriarchy and representing feminism and women having to fight harder than men. But it's more used as a tool to introduce the character of Kelly Jones, and it's abandoned shortly after, which, although relevant, I think was a good idea to abandon. So besides those moments that held this movie back from being more than it could have been, I really enjoyed the acting performances and a lot of the humor in this movie, especially from Jim Rash and Channing Tatum. So for me, acting and script get a thumbs up. 4 is character development. The person with the most character development in this movie is Kelly Jones, and one could argue that her arc is as prominent as the main plot of this movie. You get to see her go from this go-get-em marketing executive that doesn't care about the lies that she sells as long as she achieves her goal, to understanding the impact that her lies can have on people and on events themselves. And I really enjoyed her character arc by the end of the film. I think the on-screen chemistry and character development between Channing Tatum and Scarlett Johansson was very well done. That being said, Cole Davis does not really get much character development at all. You understand why he behaves the way that he does because you find out more about who he is, but there's no development in his character in this story. Really, he exists to achieve one goal, and that's send Apollo 11 to the moon. Kelly Jones is the main character of this film, and I think it suited this film well. So for me, character development gets a thumbs up. 5 is visuals and CGI. I was actually impressed by the visuals and CGI in this movie. With Apple TV films, you just don't know how it's going to turn out, especially on the big screen. But I thought visually, this movie was really well done. There were just some really beautiful things visually in this film. So much so that it caught my attention multiple times. Those things just make the movie all that more enjoyable. And the fact that for me, there wasn't any CGI that stood out is a huge win. So for me, visuals and CGI CGI get a thumbs up. And 6 is rewatchability. Fly Me to the Moon is 2 hours and 11 minutes long, and because of the feeling of multiple plots going on at the same time, it made the runtime of this movie feel a bit long. Everything that's included in this movie should be there, besides those absurd comedic moments. I do think, though, that this movie could have shaved off 10 to 15 minutes, and it would have solved these issues pretty nicely. But for a movie that did pretty much everything else pretty well, I honestly can't complain that much. I enjoyed watching this movie all the way through. It was romantic, it was funny, it was charming, and I thought it ended really well. When I went to go see the movie, I happened to be surrounded by an older audience. Like, the theater was packed out, man, and it was awesome. And everyone in there, including myself, was laughing and enjoying the film. And I gotta say, I would do it again. So for me, rewatchability gets a thumbs up. With all these areas considered, I have to give Fly Me to the Moon a 7 out of 10. This movie had a couple moments where, in its attempt to be funnier than it needed to be, it came across absurd. The emotional tone was a little volatile at times, and there were a couple different plots going on that kind of made the movie feel a little bloated. But the acting performances were awesome. When this movie was funny, it was really funny. The on-screen chemistry between Scarlett Johansson and Channing Tatum was awesome. Kelly's character development was great, and the overarching story that this movie told and everything included was very well done. It may be flawed, but it is very charming, and it was very enjoyable to watch. So if you're in the mood for a rom-com with some drama involving the moon landing, I would say Fly Me to the Moon is worth going to see in theaters. Thank you so much for watching. If you've seen Fly Me to the Moon, please let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. As always, I appreciate your love and support, and I'll catch you guys and gals in the next one.